Good evening and welcome to our show, Brookfield Public Advocate. I'm your host, Bruce Senig. Tonight's show marks 18 months since our journey began to educate, inform, and offer kind of a point-counterpoint to issues that affect our town, region, state, and country. Tonight's topic is both educational and informative. Having had a career that spans 4 decades, I know firsthand that the subject of insurance is usually met with rolling eyes and general cynicism. Let me tell you though, it is not only extremely important, but can be the difference between financial disaster and prudent risk management to maintain a true normal. I personally have delivered checks of life insurance proceeds to young mothers who were able to stay in the only home their children had ever known. I've delivered disability claim checks to clients so that they were able to continue paying their mortgages. When you can appreciate that, only then do you understand the vital role insurance plays. The examples I have just given are examples of both life and health insurance. Our guest this evening, Allison Homburg, specializes in car and homeowner insurance and has a few stories of her own to tell. She is the owner of a local insurance agency. Welcome, Allison.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Allison, first off, if you just tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I've been in the insurance business since 2003. I'm a licensed agent in Connecticut and New York. Property and casualty, which basically specializes in home insurance, car insurance, business insurance, workers' compensation, and those sorts of things.
Okay. And I believe that you live in the area as well. Do you have any hobbies that I know being an owner of an agency is going to take a lot of your time, but
it does take a lot of my time, but I do try to do some other things. I I volunteer for Habitat for Humanity. It's actually what I like to do. Some of the building on the houses for,
okay.
You know, that's what I like to do for fun.
Okay, for fun, good.
Yeah.
Please tell our audience why or how you chose to come into this field.
Actually, for myself, I was in a very different field. I was in project management in the software industry for a number of years, and I worked in a city in New York, and you know, in New York, and then I worked in Chappaqua, and the commute was a bit much. You know, I worked in Manhattan for about 5 years, and then my company had disbanded basically, and it gave me the opportunity to say, you know, let me find something different that's more local to me. And a friend owned a business, an insurance agency, and I started working for him part-time, and then eventually I got my license and I bought my agency.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good success story.
Yep.
So
Trying.
and so you've been at it then for about 10 years?
Yes.
Okay. And you know, in the insurance industry, there are different ways that, you know, people can go about it and deal on a different level, purchasing and everything. Do you feel that dealing with an agent is better than other ways, say either over the phone or mail or online?
In my opinion, and maybe it's a little biased, but yes, I think having an agent is a lot better for the individual person. I feel that I get a lot of feedback from people coming to my agency, new customers, that indicate, you know, maybe they're dropped by their carrier, or maybe they've gone previously with a buy direct company, and often I see that when a buy direct company has sold somebody a policy, the limits are very low, too low for their, you know, for what they should have as a homeowner. Like, I'll see people coming in with very low limits as a homeowner on a motorcycle policy, and it puts them at risk. Additionally, I have a lot of customers that may have been dropped by another carrier that indicate, you know, I place these claims, I wish they would have told me, you know, not to place the claim. For instance, we had the in the last couple of winters, or last winter with the hurricane in August, and then the snowstorm, the unexpected snowstorm. So many people put in food spoilage claims, and now those same people, unfortunately, are getting dropped by a lot of the carriers because there's an experience period that a carrier looks at, whether it's 3 years or 5 years. And the bottom line is, if you've had more than the allowed number of claims, you're going to get dropped. So I feel that the benefit of having an agent versus a buy direct company is for to be guided, and I'll tell a person, you can put in a claim if you want to put in a claim. However, you got to look at the big picture and whether or not that $400 that you're going to get for the food spoilage outweighs how much you're going to be paying for your premium.
Yeah.
If you're dropped or et cetera.
Now, on for example, this food spoilage, and I'm in Brookfield, as the name of the show implies.
Yeah.
I actually lost power 3 times last year, and 2 of them I think were 4 and 5 days each. We tried our best to save some. Obviously, we threw stuff out, and maybe because I'm in the quote insurance field, I knew that don't sweat the small stuff.
Right.
But you're saying that they actually would cancel them as opposed to raising the premiums?
Yes.
Wow.
If you have, unfortunately, with a lot of the carriers, if you have, say, 3 claims within a 3-year period, at renewal, they're going to look at that and they're going to say, we're going to non-renew them. And then, and I have a few clients, new clients now recently that have come to my agency, and I'm looking at surplus lines, which is a risk market, and also at what's called the Connecticut Fair Plan. Every state has a plan if you can't get insurance through a regular venue.
A high risk pool.
It's worse than high risk, unfortunately. Yeah, it's so and that's what happens, and I think you just said the same thing. Don't sweat the small stuff, and I think realistically, that's what people need to truly consider when they're placing a claim. Don't you shouldn't be looking to make money on a claim, and also, again, you have to look at it. Is it worth? If you have price A today, and you're going to put in a claim and get $500, but yet you're going to get dropped, and then you're going to go to another carrier that is $1,000 more a year. Is it worth the claim? And the answer is no.
Right. I recall when we moved from Westchester back in the end of '04, going through, since I didn't know it in the area at the time, I did this thing through my alumni association at college. And I remember being on the phone for about, I'd say close to a half hour, asking all kinds of questions. And they were able to find out that the prior owner had put a claim in for the air conditioning unit that had been hit by lightning during an electrical storm. Right. I was just blown away that that they would have that information. It didn't affect my ability to get the coverage, but to me it's sort of like the in my field, there's the Medical Information Bureau, where it's kind of like a central agency where all this information is gathered. And
there is a central agency. It's called the Comprehensive Loss Underwriting Exchange. Every carrier dumps, if you will, information into that same database. So if you have a claim, in regards to on the homeowner side, a claim follows not only the individual, meaning the homeowner, but it also follows the risk, meaning the property address.
Okay.
All right. So if a claim has been placed on that property, it also shows up in this database. So when you go to an agent and you say, I'd like to get a quote, we put in your information and it pulls up any claim for you or for that home. All right. And the reason for that in regards to the risk or the physical location is, say you had a water claim. A carrier might want to know if there was a water claim because there is potential, if it wasn't repaired properly, there may be mold that isn't discovered till a year after you own the property, and therefore they may end up with costs associated or claims associated because of a prior loss that, and that's why they look at the location as well as the person. But yeah, it does, and people are often amazed at that, particularly in regards to car insurance. They'll say, well, that claim was when I had another carrier, but that doesn't matter. The claim follows you as a person for 3 to 5 years, depending on whether it's car insurance or home insurance.
Really? Wow. Okay.
A little horrifying.
Well, I can kind of understand it, but it is amazing that I had no clue about that I even had a new air conditioning unit, which was nice to hear. It wasn't 10 years old or anything, but on the other hand, that they knew about it. And again, it didn't affect my being able to get coverage, but interesting. Picking up on, again, agent versus deal direct kind of thing, and I found it very interesting, and I think, frankly, I think a lot of people may be surprised that in terms of the limits and everything, that I imagine that a lot of that deal direct is sold on price, and that they're not really caring about you have really what you need.
That's correct.
Do you feel dealing with a multi-company agent such as yourself is better than a captive agent, and if so, why?
For me, I feel that it's better to have an independent agent. And again, an independent agency is an agency that represents various carriers versus some companies have captive agents, meaning they can only sell their product. All right, so for me, it helps me to retain business because I can, if a company has a big price increase, then I can look within my agency at the other carriers that I represent to try to keep the pricing in line with what they're paying. I don't feel it's always about making more money. My clients are what keeps me in business, obviously, right. and so I try to do the best for my clients. While I have allegiance to the carriers I represent, I also have allegiance to my customers, and if I can try to save them money, that's my responsibility.
Right.
While keeping them properly insured.
Yeah. And you were able to really help me and actually make some adjustments because I'm an ARP member with the same company that ended up saving me money. So
right.
I really appreciated that. Now, my area, again, I'm in the life and health side of it, two completely separate, the only commonality is the word insurance,
right.
but two separate licenses. In my area of insurance, as I mentioned earlier, I've been doing this for quite some time, has undergone an incredible amount of change over the years, and it's always been, but it's even more really imperative these days, but it's always been that we've had to maintain one's license. We have to, every 2 years, have a certain amount of continuing education. I would imagine, but is that similar with car and homeowners insurance? And how have things, changed over the 10 years that you've been doing this?
Yes, we have the same criteria as far as every 2 years, every license renewal, we have 24 continuing education credits that we must meet. Some of them are specific to flood insurance. Every licensed insurance agent had to. That's something that changed recently, actually, within the last 5 years. Every agent had to take a flood insurance class, which is pretty intensive. Even though flood in this area isn't really sold a lot, it's a requirement of the Connecticut license. The other requirement is some of the credits are for, I'm trying to think of what the word is. I'll have to come back to that word, but some of the credits are specific, making sure that you're doing correct things properly. I'm trying to think of the word. I'll have to come back to that. Sorry about that. Having a mental block.
Not a problem.